So at the front seat of each of these tables or chairs, if you could grab those are there, there's a piece of paper. I just encourage you to pass them back. Okay, that's how we're going to do that. I printed off a liturgy for those flooded by too much information. There's yep. So earlier in the year, we did just a liturgy together as a church and then moved into the service. I actually need all of our minutes today, and so rather than us doing this liturgy together, I would just encourage you to take this and put this somewhere. This has been a week where we're going to see that this is going to be a season where things that felt like they were unshakable are going to be shakeable, and things that seem like they were a given are not a given anymore. And it's just how it's going to be. And in our crash news cycle of outrage and fear and everything else that motivates us to follow either down past the fold or beyond the commercial to come back or the next click, we're just going to be continued to be saturated with things that are meant to emotionally get a rise from us that we may or may not have any capacity to do anything with. Now, one of the things, and we talk about this often, is that we are finite. One of the temptations of the enemy, all the way back in the story of the garden, is that if you eat from that tree, you will be like God. And we know how that went, and here we are. And one of, I think, the modern temptations of a tree in front of us is if you click that link, you will be omniscient. You can know everything there is to know. We live in a time where we are so inundated with the things that are going on in the world around us that in times past were inconceivable. It took weeks to know how a battle went or what was going on the other side of the world. It took a missionary 3 months on a ship to get to the other side of the world. Now they fly and are jet-lagged and, whatever. And one of the places our finiteness comes in to very clear focus is this dissonance between the onslaught and the rush and the inundation of information and our incapacity to internalize, synthesize, and act on it all. And we never were meant to do that. We are not omnipotent. We are not omniscient. And so this liturgy is small words, but it's words of a prayer for us in those spaces where we can feel that of too much. This isn't a judgment call on right or wrong from this week. Actually, but this is a space for us to pray as a community for you, follower of Christ, to be reminded that you are small, to be reminded that God is big, to be reminded that He, in real life, calls us into action in very real places, and in real life, we are not called into action in every place. And part of being able to rest, part of being able to turn off, part of being able to just be in His presence is knowing He is God and I am not. Okay? And so anyway, this is for you, and just put it somewhere where you can interact with that. And so if you don't have it, I would totally encourage you to pick up one of the 3 volumes of Every Moment Holy. It is a book of common prayer. It's not the common book of prayer, but it's common prayers that are good for us to be in prayer and reminded and all of that. If you've got your Bible this morning, we are in Psalms. Chapters 111 and 112. Just a real quick this morning, Rachel, thanks for jumping in last week on super short notice. Many of you probably didn't even know, but I actually tapped Rachel with less than an hour to go in the service and just said, So a few weeks back, I stumbled on this lovely book, this little bestseller, maybe, yeah. So Charlie Mackesy, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. New York Times says it's one of the books that you should read as a whole family. So if you haven't, I'd say spend an afternoon in this and read it. Run, don't walk, pick it up. Like, for real, pick it up. Trust me.